Hi, everyone. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi with my associate Understate Geva here to talk about diversity visa, the green card lottery registration for 2024. A lot of people are doing this all across the world. The time has opened up to register October 5th, 2023 for the next season, the next one that's coming up. And a lot of people come to us later after registering themselves to find errors. So we're going to have a long video Q&A, take your questions, and we're going to have timestamps on here too for people that are going to be viewing later so you can jump to the question that they're looking for, really going A through Z of what you should be aware of when you're doing the registration process for the green card lottery. Again, a lot of people mess up, and what happens is you get chosen in the lottery, you're really excited, you're really happy, you think you won, but not yet. You still have to do an embassy interview or adjustment of status in the United States. And we every year have dozens of people contact us and they realize they couldn't have won the game or they went the wrong route and stuff like that. So we want to talk about how to fix it up here so you don't have errors that you problematic later. This is going to focus on registration. With regard to adjustment of status, council processing, we're going to do separate videos probably in April when that time comes, when the numbers are being listed for next level. But this is really important because if you have errors at the beginning in this registration process, if you have a typo in your name, if you forget to list your child on there, your stepchild, they could deny you for that and you could lose the green card. Or let's say you even get the green card 5 years from now when you file for citizenship, they'll catch it there and then take away your green card. So you got to be very careful. It's seems like an easy process, but it's a minefield. So we're going to go through all of it to help you with it. Anya, thank you so much for coming on and helping us with this.
Thank you. Hi, all. Thank you so much, John, for the great introduction. So yes, we're immigration attorneys, and why we decided even to talk about this topic, because again, we usually come into play when it's too late. When people come, when they win, they want to do the consular processing or adjustment of status, and that's it. Sometimes there's nothing we can do. Sometimes we can help. Sometimes the error is fixable. Sometimes it's not. So that's why we're here today, to prevent you guys from having these errors early on. So later, your process of getting a green card will be smooth, fast, and not so stressful, I would say.
Now, a couple of quick notes. This is general education only. And the reason primarily I say this because especially with the green card lottery, every year they tweak it. So some things may change in the process. But we're doing a special. Anya was very kind to give a discounted consultation. If you did want to talk with her about your case, just about diversity visa, not anything else, there's a link in the show notes below for that to talk with her about it again, just about the diversity visa lottery and that topic. But diversity visa is free. You don't have to pay a filing fee in essence to go there. If you want to use services of somebody, well, there's fees. But if you want to register, it's free. There's a lot of scam websites. Ever since I was a kid, I have a foreign background. People would ask me, is this, they'll tell me I paid $150 to register for lottery, this and that. My uncles have mistakenly done that. Be careful, it's not there. A lot of companies later on say you won the registration and come and pay us more. Be very careful. There's a lot of fraud in this space, but we're going to talk about this and a lot more. Anya, why don't you take the lead, the basic things, the first stuff people should be aware of. All right, I think there's some sort of internet slowdown, but let me jump in. I think the first thing that you should be aware of,
right,
think
guys.
about. You're back. Okay,
sorry,
go ahead.
We don't have very good connection today. So first thing is, it's better if you do it yourself, okay, rather than if you ask someone to do it for you. And again, if you do it yourself, please make sure that you read the instructions. And reading the instructions is not enough. Actually, you have to follow the instruction very, very closely. Again, we're going to go over like a lot of questions today that we have to talk about this. But again, first thing, please read the instructions and follow them carefully. Second thing, again, as John mentioned, participation is free. You don't have to pay anyone for that. Again, if you want to talk to our attorney in private, if you have any questions, yes, we can do that. But again, you don't have to pay if you don't want to. Okay. If you don't want, if you want to have consultation with an attorney, yes. But the registration is free for everyone, no matter from what country you are from.
And this is the best. Later on, if you win and do a green card, that has more government fees there, but just getting your name in the lottery is a free thing.
Yes, thank you, John. So the only website where you can submit your entry is DVPROGRAM.STATE.GOV. Any other websites that you can find online, most likely it's some fake websites or some scammers, something like that. So the only website where you can enter your registration is official website, DVPROGRAM.STATE.GOV. There is no paper forms. There is nothing. It's online only. So if someone tells you, hey, give me your passport data or something, or your biographical information, and we're gonna do this for you. Like, I don't know, they tell you they're gonna mail it in. Again, it's all fraud, online only. So the next thing is, don't forget to press submit, because sometimes people, they think they go through the whole thing and they get to the last page, they think they're done, but there is this magic button that called submit. And after that, after you submit the registration, you have to get a confirmation page. So if you didn't get the confirmation page, it means that your entry is not in the system. Your entry was not registered. Okay, so this is very, very important. And also, it's very important that you save your confirmation page, and keep your confirmation number. You can send it to your email and have it on your email. You can take a picture, you can print it and put it in like a couple different places so that you don't lose it. We as immigration attorneys also recommend that you save your entry as well, all the information that you put in your actual entry, kids, family, like everything. It's going to be 4 pages of information. It's very useful for again, if you win, for to use it later. Okay. Again, we talk about fraud. Important, yes. John is going over the the main page. So one of them.
In there, again, the confirmation number is really important, and taking screenshots and saving the information for it, so we can see if there are issues there. So be very mindful of that. And one thing, that the form, it's pretty simple, but it's deceptively simple because people have typos, and a lot of times people don't speak English, not their original language. They have a travel agent or their friend's cousin do it. You got to be very careful. One error could lead to a denial. So some of the stuff we say, pressing submit and stuff may seem like obviously, but we get a lot of people who don't do this stuff. We have a lot of these basic errors that happen. We see it all the time. That's why we bring it up. Not to be, people think they can't do it on their own. You can, but we see it's basic. We see it from like doctors and surgeons and rocket scientists. It's not even an education thing. It's about people just not paying attention, or think it's easier, or think it's more easygoing. The government's not going to be tough on this. It's just a form. They're extremely, extremely tough on the details of this. So be very careful. And also, I want to talk about what countries are eligible really quick. This is a question I get asked quickly. The diversity visa program is 50,000 visas they set aside. Usually, probably a little more than half of them actually get the green card through this process. But it's for countries that have lower levels in immigration to the United States. So the following countries cannot do it: Bangladesh, and these are countries that have higher immigration numbers: Bangladesh, Brazil, Canada, China, including Hong Kong, but not including Taiwan or Macau, Colombia, Dominican, El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, India, Jamaica, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, South Korea, UK, excluding Northern Ireland, except Northern Ireland and its dependent territories, Venezuela, and Vietnam. These are countries that have large numbers, so they cannot participate in the diversity visa lottery. But there's 100+ countries other that they can. So I'll go back to you, Anya.
Yes. So now I think we went over the basics, and we will go to the questions. We are going to be taking your questions live. We have a list of questions already that people send us beforehand.
We're questions, but please, this is only about diversity visa registration, not about other types of cases. It's really just to focus on diversity visa today, or in this recording.
All right. So one of the very popular questions that we get is about the name. So part 1, we see here, you have to input your name here, and it seems pretty obvious, but again, people unfortunately make errors, and these errors may lead later on to denials and to disqualifications. So for example, a maiden name and passport. What name shall I use for the lottery registration? Okay, you have to use your name as it exactly appears on your passport. Okay. Sometimes your middle name will not be listed on your passport. It means that you will not be using it. You will not be inputting it into the registration form. Okay. Again, if you got married and you didn't have enough time to change your passport, okay, but you know that later on you will change your passport, right? And you know what exact last name will be there. You have to input this name. Okay, because again, you're once you got married, you officially change your name to, for example, your spouse's name, right? So for this situation, we recommend to just use your official legal name for registration purposes. Later on, again, it's gonna be hard to explain if you do it otherwise. Okay, so about the middle name, do I have to include my middle name when registering? So again, we get this we get this question a lot. And if you have your middle name in your passport, you include it. If you don't have it, you don't include it. How it's easy to see if you have your middle name in your passport. So for example, I prepared a little bit, did my homework. So this is my son's Belarusian passport. Okay, and here this is called machine readable zone. Okay, and here you will see passport number, other identification information, and here you will have usually last name, first name, middle name. Okay, so we go by this one. And again, depends on what country you are from. Sometimes they use letters that are not from English alphabet. Okay, but in this machine readable zone, it's gonna be what you need. So just a quick tip out of here from here. So the next question about the patronymic name, again, it's not the same as middle name. For those people from those countries who are using patronymic names, again, look at your passport, look at your machine readable zone. Is your patronymic name listed there? This is the answer to your question. If it's not there, you don't input it in your DV registration form. John, do you want to ask me some questions that we already?
So I mean, what about letters of passport that in your passport, the name that may not have English, things like in Sweden they have like I think like O with 2 dots, and Turkey there's these, for America it's like these weird letters that we don't have here. How do we input those?
So again, look at the machine readable zone in your passport. It's here. It's right here. So here everything will be only in English. So look here, and what's written there, that's how you have to input it in the system.
Wonderful. And what if you don't have a passport at the time of filing?
Well, since this year, passport is no longer a requirement to input your entry into DV lottery. But again, if, for example, you don't have your passport, you input your data, and later on you get your passport, and your information is different on your passport from the information that you already inputted in your registration, this can be a huge problem. This can be a huge problem. Even one error in name can lead to denial. Again, it depends on the situation. It would depend on the consular officer, but it's better if you have your passport already when you do the registration, to make sure that everything matches perfectly, because DV cases is one of those cases when there is no room for error. Okay, and you want to start right from the very, very beginning. Again, you can participate without the passport, but if later on the data is different on the passport, this can be a huge problem.
Definitely. And what about your passport's expiring?
Again, if you know that later on your passport spelling of your name will be the same as an expiring passport, then you can use what you have right now. But again, if you have an opportunity to exchange your passport and pay some like premium services that they do it in like 5 days, because today is just the registration opened yesterday, so you have the full month to do that. Okay, so it's better to later on, you will still need to get a new passport to proceed with your visa if you win, with to proceed further, right? So again, it depends on you. Better if you do it.
Now, what if you had different names? I guess if you had a different name in a previous one, but you have a new passport that has a new name, should you go with the new name version of it, the most recent one?
Yes, you have to use the most current passport, the valid passport that you have at this very moment. And again, going back to the very first question that we got about the maiden name, try to exchange your passport as soon as you can to reflect that you changed your last name after you got married, and use this data from this newly issued passport. This would be the safest thing that you can do here.
Okay. And with regard to children, if they don't have passports, it's fine. So just need it later. And they'll automatically be, if they're minors, they'll be included in the application. You have to list them. We'll talk more about that in a second.
Yes, exactly. Children, they don't have to have a passport. But again, what if later on you get a passport for your kid, and you use different rules of transliteration from your country, and your kids' names, they are different on the entry and on their passports.
Great. Now, the next portion of it is coming up. What about this part about gender? What if I change my gender and you're using a different gender? The passport has it listed differently. What do you do in those situations?
Well, it's a very very interesting question, right? But again, it's going back to the passport. If you change your gender, you have to change your passport to reflect this change, right? And it's better if you do and use this information from your newly issued passport, so everything matches eventually. So
Sure.
this is the best advice here.
And the next part, we'll just go quick about date of birth is, it's U.S. obviously, not U.S., but what with the international system for dating, we have month first, day, then year. Don't mess up the day and month as switching them up. Be very careful of that. Make sure it's exact. This is one of those easy areas where people have mistakes that becomes problematic. You definitely don't want to do that. But let's talk about cities where you were born, because this is another place that pops up. What if you're born in a village? It's not necessarily the big city. It looks kind of different than your passport. What do you do in the city situation?
Well, you just use the current name of the village where you're born. Just the name. Same if the name of the city has changed, to you use the current name of the city where you're born. Again, you can get this information from your passport, okay? And usually it goes for example, village, province, country. Okay, you use just the first part, the very first part. It's either gonna be city, town, or village. So that's what you have to input there. And again, if this data is not on your passport, if this data is only shown on your birth certificate, you can always Google. You can always see how your place of birth is spelled in English. Okay, you can use Wikipedia for this and use the most current name of the place where you were born, be it village, city, or town.
Great. Now, with regard to country of birth, we kind of had a case recently about this. So, if what would you do if you're born in a particular example in what's called Palestine? There's no option for Palestine. What would you do in that case?
Well, for Palestine, it's a very interesting question. When I was going through this myself, there should be an option for Gaza Strip and West Bank. I think for Palestine that can be used in this situation. And again, if you were born, it's in the instruction, by the way. If you were born before June 1967, it depends on where you're born, and either it's going to be the country of birth, Israel, Jordan, or Syria. Depends on the place. This is go in too much details. If you have this situation, please reach out, and we're going to be we're going to be happy to assist you with that.
Sure. So the next part is really important part is what is your country of eligibility based on? Because people have multiple passports and their parents are from different countries and stuff. What is diversity visa based on? Which grouping you're going to fall into?
So first thing that you have to look at where you were born. Okay, if you're born in the country that has low rates of immigration, the countries that can participate in DV lottery, then you don't have to look anywhere else. Okay, so you look at the country. For example, you are from Austria. Okay, that's it. You don't have to look anymore. Okay, but what if you were born in China, right? Then in this situation, are you married? If you're married, potentially you can, and your spouse was born in these countries that are eligible for DV visa, potentially you can use the as country of eligibility your spouse's country of birth. But again, it's important that you and your spouse are both named in the selected entry. Again, this is in the form's instruction, and you both found eligible and issued DV visa and enter the US at the same time. Okay, this is very important. The second thing that you also can do, if your country of birth cannot participate in DV lottery, look at countries of birth of your parents. Okay, and if for example, if they were born not in the country where you were born, and they didn't reside in this country where you were born, and again they were born in these countries that can participate, you can claim their countries of birth as country of eligibility for DV visa purposes.
Very interesting. Now, the next part is about photos. Can you use some old passport photos you have and just send those? What's the situation with passport photos?
Well, again, read the instructions and follow the instructions. If the instructions tell you you have to use the most recent photo, you have to use the most recent photo. Okay. If you participated in DV lottery in the previous years, and you just keep reusing your picture, one time this year, for example, you win, but you have a picture from like the same picture every 5 years, this is reason to disqualify your entry from DV lottery. So it has to be recent picture. It has to be exactly how they want it to be in terms of passport size, your head size. Don't trust if you go to some place to take a picture. Don't trust them. You have to make sure that the photo, we will leave the description, the link for the photo requirements below this video. Okay, so you can check it yourself. And also there is a special photo tool where you can check if your picture will work or it will not work. And again, it's very important. It's going to be very sad that, for example, if everything's okay and your picture didn't work and that's it, your entry gets disqualified just because of the picture.
Wonderful. And then the next section that comes up is about the mailing address. Do we list the address the person overseas, or can we list a family or friend that's in the U.S., or what's the situation with a mailing address?
Mailing address, first thing, it has to be safe mailing address. It's the address that you can receive the correspondence. Okay, so you can. It depends on where you live. If you reside in the country and you have basically your home address is your mailing address, so it's better to use that. But for example, what if you're on vacation right now, right? If you're on vacation somewhere, you didn't move there, and you're going to go back to your home country, right? Yes, then you can use your home country address. But for example, if you moved somewhere from your country and you live in a third country now, and you have to put this address. Okay, so factual address where you live right now, again, where you live permanently, not vacation, not some hotel, not something like this, but where you settled, where you sleep, where you have your bed. So
now the next part that comes up is actually a really, really important part. It's one of the core parts of diversity visa, is the education requirement to be able to get approved. So can you talk about what education or work history, what you need to do to be able to be approved? Because if you don't have this, if you don't have a high school degree equivalent or the work experience equivalent, even if you're chosen in the lottery, they're still going to deny your case. So you got to really just be prepared for that. And it is a question that is on the application, question number 12, which it goes, was the highest level of education received? And you'll need to back this up with paperwork. Bonnie, could you talk more about this particular issue?
Yes, thank you, John. So to be able to participate in DV visa, you have to have at least a high school education or its equivalent. Okay, and again, in your country, it might not be called high school, but it's still something like American high school. Okay, so this can be used, right? You don't have to provide your diplomas at this very moment of the registration, but later on, when you go to the embassy or when you adjust your status in the United States, this is one of the requirements. This is what we collect from our clients to show that they qualify under DV visa regulations, under this requirement. And you can have high school education. Okay, if you don't have that, you can have 2 years of work experience within the past 5 years in occupation that requires at least 2 years of training or experience. And again, this goes into much details. Into much detail. If you have questions specifically about that, please schedule consultation. We'll be happy to assist you with that. And we get a lot of questions about like what actual educational level shall I choose on the DV entry, and you have to answer the questions as they are at the moment you submit your entry. So for example, you're a student but you haven't graduated yet. Okay, you're a student at the university. So for this situation, you would choose there is an option, some university courses, for example. Okay, if you are still studying at high school, right, and you're like 16 or 17 years old, but you haven't graduated yet, you will not qualify for diversity visa, because again, for diversity visa, you have to have at least a high school diploma or 2 years of work experience, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I think it's not very hard question, but for some reason, a lot of people get confused with that. And again, if you need help, please feel free to reach out.
And they get burned. And another part where the people have mess ups is about marriage and divorce and separation. What if you file for divorce but it's not been finalized? Do you need to include the former spouse here or former spouses as well? What's the situation?
Yeah. So if you filed for divorce, you're still married at this very moment. Once you have the court order saying that you're officially divorced, only after that you can say that yes, I'm divorced. But again, if you just filed for divorce and there is no official record of the divorce yet, then you have to include your spouse, and it's not your former spouse; it's still your spouse. You have to include your spouse and get their picture into DV entry. And we talk about what's going to happen if you don't at the end of this video, so please stay tuned. But again, you have to follow the instruction to be able to claim your win later on.
And what if your spouse is a U.S. citizen or green card holder?
If your spouse is a U.S. citizen, a lawful permanent resident, you don't have to list them in your entry. Actually, there is a special option for that. There is an option married and my spouse. If you can bring it to the screen, John. Yes, thank you so much. Married and my spouse is a U.S. citizen. So this option is for you. Yes, if.
Okay.
But again, if your spouse is a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, maybe again, depending on personal situation, you can immigrate to the United States through them, and this path is more expensive. It's take more time than DV visa, understandably, but yeah, it's.
And one thing to notice, sometimes you may get married after registration. So you file this single, you win a lottery, and then you get married. It is possible to add the spouse after the fact, so we prepare for that. But
Yes,
going back
it's not
to
a problem.
yeah.
It's not a problem. You can get married, for example, before May 6, 2023. That's where we know who won, who didn't win. Okay, some people get married before they submit the S-260. This is the next step of claiming your DV visa win. Some people, they get married even after that. So there are different situations. But again, if you provide the truthful information that is truthful at the time of the entry, they can later on, they cannot tell you that you lied or something like that. If today you're not married, it's all good.
Now, the next portion about family is something people mess up on a lot. This is an issue we see a lot. It's about children. They a lot of times think it's just the children that you have right now and stuff. But I'll just read it. It says children include all biological children, legally adopted children, and stepchildren who are unmarried and under the age of 21 on the date you submit your entry. You must include all eligible children, even if they do not live with you or if they do not intend to apply for the green card lottery or diverse visa as your derivative. It's really important because you have a lot of people say, oh, they don't live with me anymore. I don't want to list them from like my stepchildren or this and that. It doesn't matter. You have to list them. Failure to list all eligible children is grounds for disqualification. If your child is a U.S. citizen or lawful resident, do not list her in your entry. So you got to put the number accordingly. Be very prepared for that. What if you, Anya? What if like you have your spouse is pregnant or your baby's not born yet? What do you do in that situation?
Well, again, it's not a problem if the baby is not born yet. Then you put 0 if you don't have any other kids, right? And later on, again, if you win, there is a way how you can add kids to your entry. And again, you will not have documentation at this moment. Again, going back to passport, today you want to name your son one name, tomorrow maybe like you will change your name. So no, you provide all the information as of today, as of you submit your entry.
Great. And so now we're moving up to a lot of miscellaneous questions that pop up. First one, you've applied already 5 times for green card lottery. You didn't do it again. Shall you continue applying? Is it a good idea, bad idea? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there is no correlation between how many times you apply and your chances to win. Some people win first time, some people win 10 years after they applied for the first time. So now, there is no such a thing. Apply.
One question you get a lot about this is, what if you apply and later on want to apply for a tourist visa? Does this prevent you because of immigrant intent? We haven't seen that typically be a problem. With the embassy, who knows what they do? They can always make stuff up, but this isn't really a petition that's being filed for you. So this normally does not create problems for filing for a a tourist visa or temporary visa
As
later
long as
on.
you're honest, yes, as long as you're
Yeah.
honest, because sometimes consular officer, they can ask you this question: have you ever like participated in DV lottery? And of course, you have to always say yes if you did. Just tell them the truth. Yes, and just participation has. I would have never heard that it's been an issue for just by itself for
Yeah.
someone to get a non-immigrant visa.
What about if you don't have the COVID vaccine? Will that be an issue?
Uh, at the moment of registration, for now, no, it's not an issue. But again, later on, if you win and you want to pursue your DV visa, at that moment you would need to go through the medical exam, and one part of the medical exam is that you gotta have COVID vaccine that is recognized either by the United States or by the World Health Organization. So not now, but later on, yes, it's
Yeah, unless they change the rules, but they're probably going to keep this one going. Can you participate in the green card lottery if you live in the United States? You're already here, for example, on a student visa.
Yes, absolutely. There is no problem with that. And some people, for some reason, they ask, what address shall I input, my US address or my home country address? Again, going back to this question that I answered, put your factual address where you permanently live. All right. If you're in the United States permanently for some time, yes, then you have to input this address. But again, another question: if you are in the United States and you win, would you be able to claim your visa? Would you be able to claim your green card? This is whole big topic.
Yeah.
The answer is it depends. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It will depend on your manner of entry. How did you enter the United States? It would depend on what is your current immigration status. Okay, it would depend on what immigration status you would have by the time, by the next year, when you actually have to submit all the paperwork, file for adjustment of status. Would your immigration status last up until this time? Okay.
Yeah, for example, you go on a tourist visa, you apply, and your tourist visa is going to end after 6 months. We won't have time to file for adjustment of status potentially. So that's a whole analysis that has to happen. If there's any previous violations, there's a lot going on with whether you could stay in the U.S. and finish the case up.
Yes, but again, the rule of thumb is that if you're in the United States, if you're in legal status, if you have never had any immigration violations in your whole life history, because they look not just at this entry, they look at all your previous entry from the very, very first time you ever entered the United States. Okay, potentially, yes, you might be able to adjust status. But again, we have to look into details. We have to look at the records. Sometimes people say, yeah, I have never had violations, but they don't have records to prove that, and this can be a problem. This can be an issue later on.
Yeah. What about if you entered the U.S. without inspection? You kind of snuck in. Can you apply for registration?
Well, yes, you can participate, but unlikely you're going to be able to get your green card.
I'm glad you put it that way. I'm getting a lot of comments on these videos we do and say, can I participate? It's like, yeah, anyone could register, but whether you're going to get approved, you can even be chosen lottery, because they don't do the background checks. They just pick your name out of the hat. Once you're chosen, then you have to analyze if there was any violations or issues. If you enter without inspection and you stayed over 6 months, then you're going to be potentially subject to a 3 or 10-year bar. So it's going to create problems there. So registration is one thing. Being approvable in the United States is one thing. Being approvable through the embassy is another. And that requires a whole separate set of analysis. But what if someone's paroled in? If you have a parole status, could you adjust status?
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting question. We saw a lot of people who were paroled into the United States under, for example, the United for Ukraine program, under the a lot of Afghans, they came here, they were paroled in too. So again, the question, yes, you can apply, but whether will you be able to change your status or not later on, it's going to be next year. The question, there is no yes or no question. Some immigration attorneys say, yeah, you can adjust status from parole. Some say, no, you cannot adjust status from parole. If you win, we'll figure this out.
Yeah, it's like a lot of business on other history, how you got the parole and all that kind of stuff. The Immigration Nationality Act, INA Section 245A does 245 does list parole as a way to do it, but usually if someone has parole in, they give them permission in, there's a lot of other stuff going on. So we got to see the whole picture first, because you can sometimes they'll let you in like that. What if someone has TPS? Can they apply for a diversity visa? Obviously, I said they can apply, but what about
Yes, they can apply, but again, we would need to see how did they enter the United States at the first place, because TPS by itself does not solve the issue of being able to adjust status later on. Just recently, there was this new regulations published that the TPS holders, not applicants, but TPS holders, they would be issued new travel documentation. And based on this travel documentation, for example, if a person ever entered, United States without inspection and stuff like that, potentially, yes, this can be solvable somehow, but probably not within the DV visa.
Yeah, they're pretty strict on that. Married to U.S. citizens, something that can really help out. What if you have certain medical conditions? Can medical conditions be a problem for a diversity visa?
Again, it depends what kind of medical conditions you have, and this part will be important at the next step once you win and once you go through the embassy processing. Again, you would need to go to the special embassy doctor, and they will do a medical checkup on you, and depends on what medical conditions you have, because some people with some medical conditions like tuberculosis, gonorrhea, and other things, they're not admissible into the United States. So again, depends on what you have. You might be either admissible or not admissible, meaning you can be issued a visa or you cannot be issued a visa into the United States.
That goes into analysis, particular how a waiver may apply or not. What if you were denied a U.S. visa in the past? Can you still do the diversity visa lottery?
Yes, again, you can. You can participate, and if you win, we would need to see later on what was the reason for denial. For example, if they denied you because they accuse you of fraud and misrepresentation, then probably, yes, even if you win, there is no waiver available to you at this point under the DV visa regulations.
Yeah, unless you're here in the U.S.
It depends on the reason. It depends on the reason.
Yeah,
if it's just tourist visa because they denied because you were not able to show enough ties with your home country, this is one thing. But if you were denied for like some other reasons, we need to see what's going on with that.
Questions all the time. People just ask like, "What if?" And it's like we got to know every case is different. What the reason was, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And this is a really big one that's coming up right now. And let's say you overstayed your visa or you have an asylum pending case. Can you adjust status in the United States? This is probably going to be on YouTube the biggest question that people find, and we get almost every day. We get this question, not just in diversity visa context, but other employment-based context. If you have an asylum pending, can you adjust status in the United States and get a green card? What are your thoughts? And this is a big issue that a lot of people are affected by.
This is a very, very, very big topic, and it would depend on again, manner of entry. How did you enter? Did you use a visa to enter? Okay, it would depend on when did you file for your asylum. Did you file for your asylum while you were still in status, which is usually, for example, for tourist visa, it's usually 6 months. Did you file within this time, or did you file like within 1 year, which is allowed for asylum? Okay, then it would depend where you live right now, because what we see often is that some offices they would approve these cases when people jump from asylum pending status, meaning that they still waiting for their asylum interview at the local field USCIS office. I'm not talking about those who are already were referred to immigration court system. Okay, so, and for example, if you live in like one circuit, meaning one part of the country, we see offices approving those cases. Right. Primarily, this is California. We see approvals coming from California. But if it's some other places, I have special folder where I have all these denials that I collect. And it's Miami, New York, Chicago, and some other places too. They're not disapproving those cases.
People had consultations with us about this. They thought their lawyer told them, an attorney told them, they filed, they got denied. They come to us. And we keep these to know what jurisdiction. So essentially, the rules are up in all the place. Most of the offices will deny this case. This is probably something, we're reporting this right now in October 2022 or 2022. This is something that's going to be put in to judges. The Supreme Court may have to make a final decision on this because it's not clear, and a different officer handling it differently. More and more, they're just denying this. So if you do have an asylum case pending and that's all you have, it's not considered status, more likely now they're going to deny the case. But hey, give it a shot if you want to see what happens. But it depends. You really, when I say give it a shot, I don't want to give legal advice. You really got to see what's going on, whether it's worth it and what risks are involved. But it's an issue that pops up a lot.
Yes, and again, if you need help with this, please feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to assist you and to help you out.
Wonderful. Now, can you submit more than one entry?
Well, no, you cannot. This is if you submit more than one entry, both your entries will be disqualified. It's only strictly one enter per one person. And I know some people, for example, they say, "Oh, I have two different passports from two different countries. Can I do 2 entries?" Well, again, you play, I would say like this, you play in this lottery, not by the country of your current citizenship, but by the country where you were born. This is what is most important thing, where you were born. This is the country of your eligibility.
Great. And then what if what can you do to increase your chances of being chosen in the green card lottery?
Well, there is only one legal way how you can increase your chances, as if you are married, okay, and your spouse submits one entry and includes you and kids into this entry as a principal applicant, and you submit one entry too, including your spouse and your kids. So this is how the whole family can increase their chances by submitting two different entries from one spouse and from the second spouse.
Okay. What if you're 18, you're a young person, you're not married? If you win, could you have your parent, your mom, for example, come into that case as well?
No, parents are not included. Siblings are not included. Only your family, you yourself, your spouse, and your kids under 21 if they are unmarried. Only those are considered. It's called derivatives for the purposes of DV visa. And, but your mom can do her own entry, and maybe you both can win. So you never know.
Yeah, but more the better. It's one of those things, just in general, do it every year. If you're just coming to the United States, it seems like they're long odds at that, but it's like just do it every year. And we have clients all the time who come never expected, and it changes their lives. So why not give a chance at this? We have a couple more questions that typically come up. The next one is.
But again, going back to this question. If you are still 18 and you are not married, your mom does her own entry, and she can include you. She can include, so you can come with her, but she cannot come with you.
Okay, so it works the other way around. Can you try to play lottery if you don't have enough money or savings?
Well, again, you can play, but what if you win and you don't have enough money just to immigrate, to push this forward, to actually, get the visa? Because again, as John mentioned at the very beginning, after you win, there is a whole process of getting through the embassy system. You have to have buy a plane ticket to the United States. You have to have savings to start your life here in the United States, right? For some time before you find a job, before you settle here. So if you can play, yes, you can play. But if you win, would you be able to finish it all up? Or maybe you're just gonna take this from someone else, this place who could have come and who had this enough income, enough money to come and actually be here and claim their green card. Another thing too about not having enough enough savings is that diversity visa winners, selectees, they are subject to a public visa, public charge rules. I'm sorry. Yes. So, and for this, again, this comes up at the embassy stage, and at this stage, you would be able to show, yes, you have enough savings. Even though, for example, you will not have your job from your home country that you're moving here, but you have savings, you have car, you have your house. Please don't sell anything until you get the visa. But you have all that. You can show, yes, that you most likely than not, you'll not become a public charge once you are here in the United States. Also, I-134 form, this declaration of financial support, can be helpful in this cases. For example, if you have someone here, your relative, your friend, someone here in the United States, they can help you out with that. This is considered by the consular officers as well when they decide on whether you can become a public charge.
Now we've kind of talked about this, but if you win, can your spouse and children immigrate with you?
Yes, yes. If you win, again, you have to include your spouse. You have to include all your children, be it like stepchildren, adopted children, or your biological kids. And it doesn't matter where they are. Are they living with you, or they live in third country, or maybe you don't have contact with them? You have to you have to include them in your entry. If you don't, this is the consequences that we wanted to talk about. What happens, so John, what happens if you don't do it, if you don't include all your children in your entry, and then you go, you get your visa, you come to the United States, everything is fine, and something changes in your life, for example, and you start to communicate with these kids that initially you didn't include because, for example, you couldn't get their pictures to submit with your entry. So what's going to happen then?
Mom to live in another countries, they're estranged or something like that. You still have to list them. Now, they could come with you as long as they're, if you win the green card, potentially, it could be in the application, but they have to have, be under 21. That's a big factor. The Child Status Protection Act may or may not kick in on this. But also, as biological children, if you got remarried and then when the kid was over 18 or something like that, those children wouldn't be considered part of that application. So definition of children of what should be listed is one thing, but who could actually come with you is another. Typically, it's biological children, sometimes adopted, and stepchildren, depending on the age in which that happened and how official the situation of the marriage with the other parent is, or the adoption record that exists. So it gets highly technical if it's not your biological children, and if the age starts going over 21 or close to 21. So those are the things you should talk with an attorney about.
Yes, and consequences of not including your children. And again, later on, you immigrate, and for example, you want to file for these kids that you never ever listed on your DS form, which is immigrant visa application. You never put them in your DV entry form, and then you want to file for them. Unfortunately, we see these cases regularly when people get bad advice, when someone tells them, hey, if you include your kids, you have lesser chances of winning. This is not true. This is not true. And it's a very devastating situation because, for example, you come here, you get your green card, and you want to file for them. And at this point, filing might hurt you. US government can come after you saying that you lied on your entry, you lied on your DS form, that you didn't tell us about your children. They can take away your green card, try to take away your green card, put you in deportation proceedings. It's honestly, like you don't want to be there. Everything could be fine for these 5 years, and until, for example, you decide to file for your kids that you never listed. So again, this is a very sensitive topic, and rule of time when you do DV visa registration: be truthful. Be 100% truthful, because if you're not, this can catch up with you later on in 5 and 10 years and can hurt you really, really bad.
Very true. Now, next question: what if you don't have a U.S. embassy or consulate in your country? Can you file for the diversity visa lottery in those cases?
Very, very, very nice question. Thank you so much for that. Yes, this is this is not a problem. Again, well, in fact, this is a problem, but just by itself, it's not a problem. Like we see, there is no embassy in Russia. There is embassy, for example, in Ukraine, but they're not like doing any visa services, obviously at this time. For example, Russians, they're assigned to Warsaw. That's where they go through. This is their post. But this year we saw, for example, that a lot of people, they were not even called for an interview there. And people, like, what you have to do in this situation, you can always try to transfer your immigrant visa case from one embassy to another embassy. For example, if you're stuck in Warsaw, they don't call you for interview. The time is running because, again, for diversity visa, it's very, very important that you get your visa before September 30th. So today we're talking about DV 2024. So for this visa, you have to have your visa has to be issued before September 30th. This is very, very important. And people, they were trying to reach out to other embassies, and some of them were successful. I heard some people were able to, some Russians, they were able to get their DV visa through, I think, Brazil. or something like that. So it's always a possibility. There are also some lawsuits going on for the previous years. We don't know what's going to happen with this year diversity visa. But again, if you don't have work in U.S. embassy in your home country, it should not preclude you from registering your entry with this year's diversity visa.
Oh, definitely. So what if you applied 5 years ago and decided not to immigrate? Can you apply again right now?
Yes, there is no numbers of times how much time you how many times you can apply for this. And if you decided something has changed in your life and now you want to pursue, yes, your old win is gone. That's it. There's nothing you can do about that. But there is no problem if you apply again.
Now, what if you're a J1 Fulbright recipient? Can you apply for a diversity visa lottery?
Yes, a very interesting question too. So the the answer would depend. Did you already worked for this 2 years that come together with the J1 visas? And for Fulbright, it's there for like almost 100% of times. Did you work in your home country after you left the United States? Are you still in the United States on a J1 visa that comes with, again, 2-year home residency requirements? So it all depends on that. Again, can you participate in the lottery? Yes, you can, but eventually, would you be able to claim this this win or not? It would depend on timing, because you gotta have specifically 2 years after you left the United States, and when you came to your home country, you have to be there and like pay your dues basically under this program.
Wonderful. Now, what about if you have criminal history? Can you apply for the diversity visa lottery?
It depends. I mean, again, you can apply, but it depends on what kind of criminal convictions you have. When we have these situations, we have to see the whole criminal history, everything what happened, what kind of criminal offense is that? Was it something small? Was it like some politically related offense? So all these things matter. And there's no simple answer to this question. We have to see all your personal records, because again, something that happened to you might not have happened to some other people. So you have to always, in these situations particularly, talk to an attorney and see what is going on in your particular case. What are the facts of your particular life story?
Great. And another question that pops up is if you served in the military in your home country, is that a reason for them to deny your application?
Not necessarily. No. Again, depends on you have to understand. We have to understand that military service just by itself is not a bar for someone to come to the United States. It's not a bar for someone to be issued a visa to the United States. Okay. But again, for example, you have to see what country are you from. If you're from a like NATO country and you served, for example, in German Bundeswehr, yes, most likely it's not going to be a problem. But for example, what if you're from Russia and you served in Russian military, and what if you participated in what's in this war that's going on right now in Ukraine?
Yeah, or from Iran, you're part of the IRGC, that Iran Shgar Corps, or they accuse you of activities that are against the, all sorts of things. They say you did bad things that even military people aren't supposed to do in war. All these things will pop up, but generally, for most people, basic military conscription, mandatory military stuff isn't an issue. And the last question I want to go talk about is your kids are studying at school. You don't want them to immigrate right now. Can they come at a later time?
Yes, a very, very good question too. So the thing is that, as I mentioned previously, your visa has to be issued before September 30th. And your visa for all your spouses, for all your kids and spouse, have to be issued before September 30th too. So if they can, if, for example, if you got a low number and you got scheduled for an interview in November, okay? Yes, and for example, your kids want to graduate in May and they want to come like later in the summertime. Is it possible? Again, it would depend on how fast your embassy schedules people for DV winners for interviews, So it would depend on all these factors. But again, once you immigrate to the United States, for example, if they were not able to come with you before September 30th, okay, then you as a lawful permanent resident, you can apply for your spouse and your children under F2A category. It's called spouses and children of lawful permanent residents. This category is current right now, meaning there is no line to wait, like in this like long visa line, you know. But anyways, for this category, it takes now around 2 years from start to finish. So, but it's an option too. So if they didn't made it in time, for example, you still have an option to bring them here.
Wonderful. Yeah, because you know, if they come and get the green card, there are options for them to go back and finish their school and come back. It's not like they have to stop. When you get your green card, you are supposed to be a resident of the United States, but there are some flexibilities. Getting a reentry permit, special permissions, for example, to go back to your home country, be there for a small bit of time to finish up what you got to. So this was a relatively long video. We went in detail. You're probably not going to find anywhere on the internet that has all this information. We're going to have timestamps and clips out of this so you can find the answer that you need. But we wanted to have this out there because these are questions we get every day by email, on comments on our videos. So we thought, let's put it all in one place so that people get the information they need to help them out to do this process, because it's an opportunity to change your life. The world's going through a lot of upheaval. It might be an opportunity to really take your life to the next level. And that's what we're here for, helping people get to where they need to go and help the world go around and provide these opportunities for everybody. So thank you, Anya, so much for going in detail through all this. It was excellent. It's going to definitely help a lot of people.
Thank you, John. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And again, we try to cover as many questions as possible. But again, this is U.S. immigration, and any topic in U.S. immigration. You know, once you start dig, a lot of things come up. Okay, yeah. So if you have any questions that we were not able to answer here, please, again, we did this special discounted consultation fee for those needing help. For the diversity visa registration, please feel free to reach out. You'll see the link below this video. You know, it's very easy. You just click, pay, and that's it. You have your time with an attorney that can answer all your questions, all your concerns, and release the stress that you might have right now. And again, it's very, very important to do everything from the start.
Definitely. Preparation is the key to success. Thank you, Anya, so much. If you haven't already, like and subscribe where you're watching this so you get more updates like this. We do tons of videos and information to help you through your immigration process. Until next one, have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.